What is the meaning of life? Most of us spend our entire lives in pursuit of an answer to that question. The truth? Maybe there is none. Strangely enough, the only one that might have an answer to that question is Sisyphus. The human search for meaning. Humans have always had a fundamental desire to understand why we exist in the first place. Throughout history, people have turned to religion, philosophy, and science, all with the same goal, to find some sort of purpose. We ask questions like, why were we put here? What is the meaning of life? These questions reflect something very deep within human nature. Our brains naturally crave explanation. We want the world to follow some kind of logical and understandable pattern. But let's think about it in more of a relatable way. Have you ever loaded into a game of Clash Royale? Usually the goal is simple. Outplay your opponent, play the right cards, and take their tower. But imagine this. Would you still play the game if you couldn't even take a single tower? Or if your opponent did the exact same moves every single game? You'd probably stop playing pretty quickly. Well, now apply that idea to real life. Without some kind of goal, aspiration, or higher purpose, many people feel like life loses its meaning entirely. Why live a life that seems to have nothing waiting for you at the end? There is no goal, there is no checkpoint, so what is the point? The absurd. This is where the philosophy of absurdism comes in. The absurd is not just the world itself, and is not just the human search for meaning, it is the conflict between the two. On one hand, humans desperately want life to make sense. On the other, the universe offers no clear explanation or answers. And that clash creates what philosophers such as Albert Camus called the absurd. Camus is widely recognized as the philosopher most associated with this idea. In his famous essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, he explores the possibility that the universe had no divine order and no predetermined meaning. In other words, there may not be a higher power guiding our lives or guaranteeing us some ultimate purpose. And strangely enough, Camus believed that this realization could actually be liberating. Because if life has no predetermined meaning, then we are free to create our own. This is where the absurdism separates itself from nihilism. Nihilism often leads to despair. Absurdism instead points towards freedom. The universe may never answer our questions, but maybe it's time to stop waiting for an answer and start shaping our own lives instead. The myth of Sisyphus. Camus explains this idea through the ancient myth of Sisyphus. According to Greek mythology, Sisyphus was punished by the gods and forced to push a boulder up a hill for all of eternity. But every time he reached the top, the boulder rolled all the way back down, and he had to start over again, and over, and over, and over, for all of eternity. At first glance, this punishment seems completely pointless. All of his efforts lead to nothing. As soon as he gets to the top of that mountain, the boulder rolls back down again. And Camus uses this story as a metaphor for human life. Many of us feel trapped in similar cycles. Wake up, go to work, repeat the same routine every day. For example, someone stuck in a job they may hate. They might spend decades repeating the same routine just to make ends meet. From a grand perspective, it can start to feel like all that effort is just pushing the boulder up the hill again and again. Confronting the absurd. Absurdism suggests something interesting. Instead of denying this reality, we should acknowledge it. Recognize that the universe may never give us a grand meaning or purpose. And for some people, this realization can feel confusing or even hopeless. If life has no ultimate meaning, why bother at all? Camus believed this moment of confrontation is actually essential, because once you accept that the universe offers no guaranteed purpose, something surprising happens. You become free. Free from the pressure of trying to fulfill some predetermined destiny. Free from waiting for the universe to tell you what your life should mean. Instead, you get to dictate yourself, decide for yourself. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. Camus ends his essay with one of the most famous lines in philosophy. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. At first, this seems almost absurd in itself. How could someone condemned to such a pointless task for all of eternity possibly be happy? But Camus suggested something powerful. Once Sisyphus fully understood the absurdity of the situation, he takes control of how he responds for it. Because the one thing that Sisyphus had left was himself, and how he reacted to the situation that he was in. The gods may control his punishment, but they cannot control his mindset, the one thing he has left. And in that sense, the struggle itself becomes enough to fill his life. Living with the absurd. Camus believed that we can apply this same mindset to our own lives. Even if the universe has no ultimate meaning, we can still find fulfillment in the act of living itself, such as in learning, losing, healing, struggling, creating, and experiencing the world. By accepting the absurd, you can also encourage people to live more authentically. Have you ever felt pressured by the expectations of the people around you? Maybe you choose something in life because it was expected of you. Absurdism challenges that idea completely. If life has no predetermined meaning, then you are no longer forced to follow the expectations imposed by society, tradition, or any external authority. Your life is simply your own. And instead, you can focus on living according to your own values. In conclusion, absurdism challenges the belief that life must have a clear and universal purpose. Through the story of Sisyphus, Albert Camus showed us the conflict between our search for meaning and the silence of the universe. And that conflict creates the absurd. But instead of falling into despair, Camus encourages us to embrace the freedom that comes with it. If life has no predetermined meaning, then we are free to create our own. And in doing so, we might find something unexpected. Not the meaning of life, but the joy of living it anyway. Thank you.